Hello and good evening. It is Saturday, May the 23rd, and there's something I wanted to show you before doing my normal weekly garden update. Right over here is actually, I didn't plant this, but it's a very common garden weed. It's called lamb's quarters, and actually it is a very good tasty substitute for spinach during warm months of the year, in which spinach doesn't grow well. Now, I was going to harvest it a few days before, but I ran out of time. But the plants are also getting to the point where I'm going to have to thin them out so that they produce better grain yields later on. In the meantime though, when the plants are small like this, you can actually pull out the plants and then use them as a green vegetable. So if you ever find them out and while you're weeding, you can actually take the plants, use the top tender part, and it works best. And they can be used sauteed like spinach with some bacon, maybe some, or just plain, or with olive oil. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest and thin out these plants, and then I'll show you what I have afterwards. Hold on. Okay, so this is what I got after weeding out and thinning the lamb's quarters. It's a whole bowl full. Now I'm going to show you a bit about the plants so that you can identify them when you find them in your garden. They are a very common weed. Okay, here are the lamb's quarter plants I left. I thinned them out to about a foot apart from each other. Okay, some identifying features are the serrated edges to the leaves. They should have a chalky white powder on the leaves, as well as some kite shape to the leaves. They're called goosefoot as well, is another common name for them, so because of their vague resemblance to a foot of a goose. Now that I've gone over how to identify them, now I can go ahead and begin preparing them for food. As with any green you bring in from the inside, it is a good idea to wash it before cooking it. In this case, the lamb's quarters was covered with aphids, so I'm making sure to wash the greens off and more than 2 changes of water to remove any last traces of the insects. Thankfully the insects though are edible, but I just want to make sure that there aren't any left, as well as any residual dirt left over. During the rinsing process you may notice some bits of white film coming off the leaves. That should be normal, don't worry too much about that. The main goal of the rinsing is to get the dirt and bugs off. After a couple rinsing, then the leaves should be ready for cooking now. Okay, the next step I'm going to go ahead and start off with bacon bits and render the fat out of them for the dish. If you want, you can also use avocado oil instead, but I'm doing this for the added flavor. Now let's begin. If I'm not mistaken, I remember last time I helped my father cooking, he showed me to add a bit of water to the bacon to make it render more easily. Hope I remember this properly. Now, once the bacon's finally done rendering, I'll show you the next step. Okay, this is what your bacon should look like when you, for the next step. I think my dad called these crispy bits lardons or cracklings, I can't remember what. I think lardons, not cracklings. But once they get like this, you're actually supposed to remove them from the pan and set them aside until later in the cooking process. Now, I don't get quite as much bacon fat as I wanted to, so I'm going to have to supplement it with avocado oil. And then the next step will be adding the lamb's quarter greens. Okay, here are the lamb's quarter greens now. The actual sauteing process shouldn't take very long. And it's important to keep a close eye on the greens to make sure they don't stew down too much. I'm going to actually add a little bit of garlic here. Hopefully that should mellow out any bit of the soapy taste from the saponins and the oxalic acid. One thing I forgot to mention is that, just as with spinach, lamb's quarters have bits of oxalic acid and saponins in them. These substances can affect the flavor of the greens. People particularly sensitive to those substances may find spinach bitter. If that's the case, it's usually a good idea to cook them down, the greens down, to make them more palatable. This also actually makes certain nutrients in the plants more bioavailable, as it breaks down some of the oxalic acid and saponins, since they are also anti-nutrients. Now I'm going to continue sauteing the greens, and I'll show you when they're done. Okay, here's the finished dish. Now, the bitterness of lamb's quarter is usually almost non-existent when you pick the young greens, almost to the point of being like spinach. But as the plants get older, they can gradually get more bitter as they build up more saponins and oxalic acid. So for that reason, I prepared them cooked this way due to the size of the plants when I picked them. Now, thanks for watching. I'll let you know how it tastes, and goodbye, and you can subscribe if you like these videos. Okay, signing out.